financial literacy, and the human condition with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rayam.
It's time for another Hug Highlight Reel. I'm Jess along with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Rayam. Hi.
Hello, Jess.
Let's get one more question in because I love this one. My husband is really cheap. When does being frugal cross the line into costing yourself more in the long run?
Wow. I am unpacking that right now because that was an artfully worded question. I expected her to say, my husband is really cheap. When does frugal cross the line into cheap, right? I mean, something like that. When does frugal cross the line into costing you more in the long run?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, without getting any fights started, I think that's a little bit subjective, but I'll give some
Yeah.
examples that come to mind right away.
Okay.
The first would be probably the one they're arguing about. I'm going to just get my crystal ball out and say it's a car. And one person is saying, I'm just going to keep repairing this car. I'm going to drive it into the ground. And the other person is saying, it's ridiculous. It costs us money every month. Why don't we just buy
Right.
a new car? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example because at some point, and it's always a difficult time to know, you're going to have to trust your mechanic or take it to a couple of mechanics. At some
Mm-hmm.
point, you're going to have to say, okay, we're dumping not just the emotional, we're dumping money into this all the time. Let's get a new car. But
Right.
we have dumped $500 a month into this for the last 3 months, and it still needs $3,000 of repairs.
Mm-hmm. You might as well
Is
be
it,
doing a car
is
payment
it worth
or
keeping or not? Depends. And that's why that's such a hard conversation to have and a hard decision to make. And that's where I would take it to a mechanic and say, a good mechanic that you trust and say, I don't want to be doing this forever, but I don't really
right.
love the idea of a new car payment. Tell me what has to be repaired for me to drive this another, 50,000, 100,000 miles, whatever it is. And
Mm-hmm.
hold their feet to the fire on it a little bit. I don't want to come back here next month and find that you said, yeah, but now it needs a transmission. Now,
Yeah.
any good mechanic is going to say, look, I can't guarantee this, anybody worth their weight, but they'll give you some idea of you might be getting time. You got 250,000 miles on this thing, you got your money out of it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll see people who will say about a fairly new car, um, we've got almost 100,000 miles on it. We need a new car. And I'll say, well, how much do you drive? Well, we drive about 15,000 miles a year. Well, you might not need a new car right now. I mean, cars today last more than 100,000 miles pretty well, most
I
cars.
do think that's everybody in their mind though, or at least growing up for me, I always thought 100,000 was when things are going to start to go wrong.
Yeah, but even if they do start to go wrong, with a car
Mm-hmm.
payment being what it is these days, at what point is it worth it? So that's one
Right.
example. The other example would be something like food. You're buying cheap food. Does it cost you your health in the long run? But the thing I want them to be careful about is not that it's a blame game. It isn't
Mm-hmm.
you're cheap and it's costing us more money in the long run. Try to separate fact from emotion. Remember when you only wanted to spend $10 on that vacuum and we got it and it turned out to eat our rug? Well, that
Yeah.
was too cheap. That was not frugal. That was cheap. Okay, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the frugal person is just looking out for the family. They know we only have this much money to spend. Everybody has needs. I'm going to need to hoard this money a little bit, save it for a rainy day. So I don't want to spend this much money. I mean, that's why tag sales and auctions and, Temu and shopping online, those kinds of things that we've talked about in the past are so popular because you can stretch a dollar if you do it well. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a difference between frugal. Okay, so let me see if I can find that. Frugal is you're trying to accomplish your goal. This is my definition. You're trying to
Okay.
accomplish your goal for as little money as possible, but you're still accomplishing your goal, right? You're just being frugal about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap, cheap, I would say you're not even trying to accomplish your goal. You're just saying, I'm not spending that money. I know my child
You're
needs
stubborn
braces.
and
I'm not doing it. Right.
yeah. I will say I have a friend whose husband, and I'm not naming names so I can say, is so cheap that he takes the fun out of everything. For example, I don't know, this was months ago. We were all going to go out and meet at a restaurant, and it included, you got to find somewhere to park.
Sure.
And he drove around looking for free parking because he refused to pay for the valet parking. And they ended up going home because they spent so much time driving around that the fight escalated in the car, and they
Yeah.
just said, "That's it, we're not going." And
Yeah.
so if it's cutting into your daily enjoyment, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's got to be tough for you too, because you see couples a lot. So when clearly one of them is being ridiculous, how do you word that nicely?
Well, it really is a discussion between the couples. The problem
Mm.
with that is the really cheap person sees the other person as a total spendthrift.
Yeah,
They're like, well, you're extravagant. Valet
right,
parking. What do you think? I'm going to pay this guy $5 to park my car and then I'm going to have to tip him? This is crazy, right? But
right.
sometimes you have to find maybe a therapist, but sometimes you have to find a
Mm.
place in the middle where you decide, here would be my advice, before you go, if you can, we're
Yeah.
going out to dinner. This is our budget. So we don't have a fight like we had the last time. If we have to spend $10 to park the car, I will order $10 less of food,
Yeah,
or
or
we
one
can,
less drink or
whatever,
whatever.
whatever your compromise is, so that
Yeah.
we can both be okay. But this is our budget. Not
Oh, that's a good
our budget
idea.
is not zero. Okay. A cheap person's budget is zero. I am not paying anything, zero.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a difference between that and just saying that's not worth what they want for it. I'm not willing to pay that. That's
Hmm.
more about being frugal or selective or something like that. But just I'm not paying any money because I we used to call it blueberry money. I used to say a family member, I won't mention names either. I used to say she's got her blueberry picking money. You know,
Is
she's
that just
70
like the
years
little private
old.
stash?
She's got 70 years old. She's still got her blueberry picking money. Okay.
Yeah.
She opens her wallet, the moths fly out. Okay. There comes a point where it is absurd.
That, by the way, that is a true story. Like literally they went home. They're divorced now, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't cheap.
Yeah, exactly. But I
How
mean,
you
she
like
just was
them
over
apples?
it.
That's the answer to the first question. When does frugal cross the line into costing you more in the long run? Yeah, when you
When
get,
you get a divorce.
wow.
In this particular case, like I completely agreed with her that he was being ridiculously cheap. But then later on, I found out that she ran up like 70 grand on his credit cards. And,
Oh, yeah.
there was other stuff going on
That's
that
why
you're
I
not
said
privy to.
That's why I
Yeah.
said they always think the other person is a spendthrift and they're extravagant.
Yeah.
That's usually why they're like trying to balance it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
for many people, and maybe understanding where it came from is really important. I don't mean to be
Mm,
insensitive about this because that question just launched out. My husband's really cheap, right? But there is a place where you have to think about, well, did they experience real scarcity growing up? Is this a
mm.
survival tactic? And that's where I think a therapist might be useful for a couple.
Oh, interesting. All right, let's get your phone number
Sure. 413-773-3333.
and you can go to hugyourmoney.com. Thank you so much. This has been another Hug Highlight Reel with the Money Doctor, Dr. Francis Ram.
Underwritten by
Hug your money, it's where you belong. Your future's waiting steady and strong. Dignity shines in the smallest stream. Permission granted to chase your dreams. Permission granted to chase your dreams. Chase your